we're gonna use the pronoun you. So this time, we are not going to use this pronoun me, but rather we are going to use the pronoun you, which in Swahili means wewe. Wewe. So when you are conjugating the verb using this pronoun you, which in Swahili means wewe, the prefix wewe, this prefix wewe, excuse me, not prefix, pronoun. The pronoun wewe is represented by the prefix u. Remember, when we were using the pronoun me, which is mimi in Swahili, it was represented by the prefix ni. But in this case, with the pronoun wewe, it's represented by the prefix u. So, let me give a simple verb, how to conjugate. I will do it again. Maybe kupika, yeah, which means to cook. To cook. So how do you conjugate this verb kupika, to cook? As usual, this ku is the infinitive. Then pika is the root of the word. If you want to conjugate this, you start with the prefix you bring you down and put the tense. And in our case here, we're dealing with present tense. I said if it's present tense, it has these two letters na. So you put na here and you pick the root of the word, which is pika. So it becomes unapika, which means you are cooking. Easy peasy, you are cooking. Unapika, you are cooking. So easy. You just have to remember the pronoun wewe is represented by the prefix you. If you want to conjugate, you bring down the prefix you and put the tense. In our case, it's present tense, which has na. You put the na here. Then the root of the word, pika. It becomes unapika, you are cooking. Maybe you want to say you are cooking food. So you'll say unapika chakula. Chakula, which means you are cooking food. You are cooking food. So we have conjugated the verb using the pronoun wewe in present tense. And this is what we got, unapika, which means you are cooking. Let me do something here. So how would you say I cooked, like in the past, if you want to conjugate it using the past tense? I cooked. No, he cooked, for example, not I, but he cooked. We are dealing with the pronoun wewe, which is you. So how would you conjugate using past tense? As I said before, the pronoun wewe is represented by the prefix u, so you'll bring down the u here, and you put the tense. And if it's in the past tense, you'll have these two letters, li. You put the li here, then you put the tense, the root, which is pika. So it becomes ulipika, which means he or she cooked. He or she cooked. Ulipika. How do you conjugate it to be in the future tense? So if you want it to be in the future, like he will cook or she will cook, you will do the same. You use prefix u, and you put the verb here. In the future, we use this ta. You put let me change this. Then you put the verb ta, then the root of the word pika. So it becomes utapika, which means he or she will cook. You just have to play with these letters here. If you master these letters, it's very easy to construct sentences. But also the prefixes, like wewe represented by the prefix you. Mimi is represented by the prefix ni. If you master them, it's very easy to construct sentences. So present tense has these two letters, N and A. Past tense, li. Future tense, ta. We are going to conjugate using this pronoun wewe, which is represented by the prefix you. So for example, you want to conjugate this kupika, to cook, but using this pronoun wewe, which I said is represented by the prefix you. You'll bring the you down here, u. In Swahili, we call it u. You bring u down. Then you put the tense here. So if it's present tense, you bring the na down here, na. Then you put the root, pika. It becomes unapika. You are cooking. At that moment, you are cooking, present tense. And if it's in the past, li, you use li. You bring the prefix you here, u. And you put the tense, which is past tense, li, ulipika. So he or she cooked, ulipika chakula. And if it's in the future, with ta, you bring the prefix you put ta, you put the root. So it's always, you start with the prefix, then you come the tense, you end with the root of the word. This is how you construct sentences in Swahili. Karibu Lukanga. Tukuone basi mwalimu. Mbona mwalimu nipo tu kwenye profile yangu nimejaa tele. Ukienda kuangalia video zangu utaniona nimejaa tele. So the pronoun we in Swahili means sisi. We, sisi. Let me drink some water when you are conjugating Swahili verbs, like it's the same way, the same formula. When I was teaching about the pronoun me, pronoun you, like the same formula I used, it's the same formula I'm going to use with this pronoun we, which means sisi. Just put in mind, the pronoun sisi is represented by the prefix tu. If you remember in my previous not videos, but some few minutes ago, I said the prefix the pronoun mimi is represented by the prefix ni, and the pronoun wewe is represented by the prefix u. So in this case, sisi, which is we, is represented by the prefix tu. I will clear this. I'm just trying to remind you what we learned before. Anyways, we move on. Let me use the verb. The verb tunacheka. Kucheka. Yeah, kucheka. Kucheka, which means to laugh. To laugh. As I said before, this ku is the infinitive. And cheka is the root of the word. If you want to conjugate this verb using the pronoun we, which is sisi, and past tense, using this, present tense. As usual, you bring down the prefix here, tu is our prefix. You bring down prefix. Then you put the tense. Our tense here is present tense, which has na. So you put here na. Then you put the root of the word, which is cheka. So it becomes tunacheka, which means we are laughing. We are laughing. That's how you formulate the sentence, tunacheka. If you want it to be in the past, like we laughed, you'll do the same. You bring the prefix here, tu. Then you put the tense, and it's past tense. You put li. Then you put the root of the word. It becomes tulicheka, which means we laughed. And if you want it to be in the future, like future tense, you do the same. You bring down the prefix to, and you use the tense, future tense, which has na, ta, then the root, cheka, tutacheka, we will laugh, we will laugh. If you want to master these verbs conjugations, just remember the prefixes used in this present, future, past and future. Once you master this na, li, ta, and also you remember the pronouns and their prefixes, you are good to go. Anyways, I'm going to use the same example, kucheka. Unless you guys have another verb, then I will use that one. Kucheka, which means to laugh. Ku is the infinitive. Cheka is the root. If you want to conjugate the verb kucheka, you bring down the prefix wa. Where's my pen? Wa. Then you put the tense. And if it's we are starting with present tense, which has na, you put the na here, and you put the root cheka. So it becomes wanacheka, which means they are laughing. They are laughing. And if you want to use past tense, you still do the same. Bring down the wa here. You put the tense. The tense has li. So you put li, wali. You put the root cheka. Cheka. Which is they laughed. Wali cheka, they laughed. If it's with future tense, you do the same. You bring down the prefix wa, and you put the tense. Tense has ta, so ta, then the root cheka. Watacheka, which means they will laugh. Easy peasy.